Hey, everybody. This is Jo Lynn Bright, also known as JLB in the house. And welcome to HopeNet's Studio 2501, Conversations about Mental Health and Wellness podcast. We're so glad that you have chosen to join us, whether you're listening or whether you're watching and listening. Just thank you for hanging out with us for a little bit. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Hoydale. And like I say all the time, we love them. They love us. And then also our generous community partners that have also helped to sponsor this episode. And so on today's episode, we're just so happy. We're just going to jump right on in that we have Miss Donna Pearson McClish as our guest. And she is, I'm going to refer to her as her mom, not her mom. Her daughter always says, yes, let me talk to CEO and I'll get back to you. And so she is the CEO of Common Ground Producers and Growers. And Miss Donna, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'll make sure that I keep your position right in front of us because your daughter Keisha, she will not let me live that down, that my mama is the CEO.
Well, thank you for having me today, Jolene.
Yeah, I love it. I was telling you earlier, like when we first came in, I was just saying it was a year ago that I was sitting at a place here in Wichita, Kansas at a Getting Ahead graduation, and I met Randy and Keisha, your daughter. And the more that she talked, and I kept looking in her face like, she's somebody I know. But you know, the Pearsons have a look, okay? And
that's what I've been told.
Yes, you have a look. And so I was, finally, she was, the more we talked, I'm like, did you have a brother named I did probably say brother, or somebody, were you related to Denny Pearson? And she said, yeah, that was my uncle. And I'm like, no way. I said, we went to K-State together. And so she proceeds to tell me something. But this is what's crazy, that was like a year ago to the week.
To the week.
Okay, because we're going to do a Getting Ahead graduation on Monday. And so they were at last year's.
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh, my Lord. And I said, I'm so glad. But did you have any clue that we'd be sitting here talking to you and all that? And then Keisha introduced me to you at another event.
At our first Fridays, yes.
And so I got to talking to you, and you started telling me the history and stuff. I said, we got to get you on. We got to get you on the podcast.
We've been working on it for a while.
So I love it that it's finally reality.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to have you just jump in because I want people to know who you are. I want you to share whatever stories too, because you told me some stories about your mom and all that, and the extension office and all that. So tell us about Common Ground. Tell us about you first and just the family.
Well, I am a Pearson. I'm the oldest of 12.
Wow.
And I'm learning that 12 is a very significant biblical number also. Yes, that's been quite a revelation to me in the last few days. Oh, my goodness. I have 8 brothers, 3 sisters, and there are 11 of us living. So we're a blessed family. Yeah. We have a farm in Wichita that my parents purchased in 1968 because when we moved from the what was called the North End, the industrial area, they made it into an industrial area, and she was determined not to have her children in the city.
So in Wichita, Kansas. Okay.
Wichita, Kansas, of all places.
Yeah.
So the story has it that she and my dad were riding around looking for where to move, and she saw the farm, 40 acres, and she said, "That's it. That's where that's where we're putting the kids."
Okay.
So it's been a blessing that the boys were raised on the farm because they were wild. So
are you guys listening to that? Your sister's calling you wild.
They were a wild bunch. So 55 years ago, they did this. And my mother was a community advocate. And I'll get to that as we talk about Common Ground. And my father was a farmer, avid farmer. He worked at Cuddy Hay packing plant.
Okay.
He did a lot of he was an entrepreneur before they coined the word. You know, he had all these jobs and everything he did just prospered. So he taught us that the land he said he would always say, "You're walking on a gold mine and you don't know it."
Wow.
He would say that all the time. And I can remember when I was young, he taught me how to drive the Datsun pickup.
Yeah.
And he'd sit on the back.
You're dating yourself.
That's
Datsun.
right. I am. I drive, and he'd sit on the back and throw the seeds out to plant.
Wow.
So that was one of my precious memories with my dad, because I'm the oldest, and so he and I were really close. That's right. So now we have. I came back to the farm in 2012, 13, because I had been gone. I moved to Kansas City and said I was done with Wichita and all of this, and I wasn't coming back. And 5 children and I moved, and
never say never.
I know. And so I came back to help with my mother, and my brothers asked me, what can we do with all of this produce? We have all this produce that we've grown. And the Lord knows I don't know where this came from. To this day, I said, let's start a farmer's market.
You said that out of your mouth.
I said, let's start a farmer's market. Yeah. So
okay.
So from there, we made an appointment with Bev Dunning.
Okay.
She was the Kansas State Extension Director for years. And we made an appointment to sit down and talk with her. Well, we made an appointment to talk with an agent to say, how do we set up a farmer's market on the farm? So during that appointment, Bev set in on that, which I later found out that was totally out of the ordinary for her. So do you want me to keep on?
Yes.
Okay, so Miss Dunning sat in with us, and
because this is a great story.
That's right. So she sat in the meeting with us, and we introduced ourselves, and she said, "Oh yes, I know you." And I said, "Really?" She says, "Your mother used to bring the children from the city to the farm." She said, "You still have the farm?" And I said, "Yes, we still have the farm. That's where we want to put the farmer's market."
Yeah.
She said, "I set up my sewing a machine on the front porch of your mother's farm, and she'd go get the kids from the city and in the truck and bring them to the farm, and I'd teach them sewing." And I said, "You have got to be kidding."
I know.
And I'm sitting here looking at her. She says, "Yes." And later on, I learned from serving on the board with the Kansas State Extension that my mother was the first African-American master gardener.
Wow.
So she was doing all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But that was like her.
But you said she was a community advocate.
She was. I mean, she was, she had 12 children. And so she always was thinking and doing outside the box. She needed a vacation. And she signed up with the Red Cross.
Wow.
And went down to Hurricane Hugo to serve with the Red Cross. That was her vacation.
Okay, well, you guys listening, I mean, you're probably saying, this is good. This is a good story.
She was just this free spirit with 12 children.
12 children.
Yes. And so fast forward, we thought we'd set up the market. My idea was setting up the farmer's market on the farm, maybe one Saturday, 8 to 12, easy.
Yeah.
Not too much. So a colleague of mine, Janet Diggs, was working at Shady Way Plaza.
Okay. Which is like a retirement?
Yes, a high-rise.
Okay.
It's a senior high-rise on 13th and Spruce.
Right.
So she called me and she says, we have these senior market vouchers that USDA issues to our seniors that are income eligible, and they have to be used as a farmer's market.
Oh, man.
But we don't have a farmer's market anywhere in our area. And this is in the 67214 zip code. So she said, can you just bring some produce over and they can use their senior market vouchers? Well, at the time, I said, sure, just okay. I'm learning to be very careful about saying, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll do that because we've got our plates full now. So.
I know.
But anyway, back to Shady Way. We went to Shady Way.
Stay there for a minute. Stay at Shady Way. Don't forget, okay? Because you mentioned something. Because right now in this space and time, when we're recording this, and you said, that's in 67214 zip code. And as we're recording this, because as of 12/31/2022, at the end of the year, 67214 was the poorest zip code in the state of Kansas.
That's
not just in Wichita, but in the state of Kansas. So it's interesting that even you're this person that's calling on you to do this, that there is a call to that area.
Yes.
So I wanted to just kind of punctuate that for the people who are listening to say, why did she say that?
Yes.
Okay.
67214. And it is deemed by the United Way and by statistical data that it is the poorest zip code in Kansas.
And we're going to help change some of that.
Oh,
okay?
we're turning that around. Yes. So we took the produce and started working with Shady Way, and then the Area Agency on Aging said, we've been working on this issue for a couple of years. I've got a committee that's been working on it. Would you consider doing some extra sites, senior sites? And I said,
we go the extra.
Yeah, just a few a few more. And I said, sure. So we went from 7 in 2014 to 11. Then we peaked in COVID at 35.
Okay.
And now we're at like 27 to 30, but we've got so many other sites
that are asking.
That's right, or that we service.
Wow. Okay.
Because we service Sedgwick County. We service in district, Sedgwick County, in Wichita district. We serve every district, 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Every district except 2. We have a location. And then we have the 12-county corridor that we've added from Wichita to Salina.
Okay, which is the I-135.
I-135. And then we do all of the other Goddard, Burton, all of the other events that we have that we set up. So we're just got kind of busy.
just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But the need is so great because, I didn't speak to what we do.
Yeah, because I'm like, when you get to go to Shady Way, like, what does that look like?
Oh, that's Shady Way has their shopping carts lined up on the sidewalk. Randy takes the big white van.
And it's Randy's loaded, your son-in-law.
Okay. He's my son-in-law, yes. He loads the van up. We aggregate our food, fresh, healthy produce from a network of growers. So we have growers out there that call us and say, can we join you in providing food? We pay our growers an equitable wage.
Okay.
And we are tasked with moving the food to where it's not accessible. So the fresh fruits and vegetables that we provide are probably in non-accessible areas. If our viewers understand food desert, food insecurity areas, those are areas that don't have a grocery store within a mile of the residents, or the grocery stores have closed, or they don't have any access to fresh produce and vegetables.
Or there's just the grocery store. I mean, just imagine that the grocery store is so miles away.
Miles away. We serve Heston. They don't have a grocery store. Wow. We serve Newton. Now, they have a grocery store, but the residents in that high-rise often don't have transportation. So there's criteria that we use when we go to a site.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not like, you called me, I'm just going to go.
No. Okay. There has to be a need that has not been met and food that's not accessible. And then the senior market vouchers, you can't use them at a grocery store.
You have to use it for a farmer's market.
You have to use it at a farmer's market. So you can have a high-rise with a grocery store across the street, and there's no farmer's market. So in 2014, when we started, senior market vouchers were $30. It's a booklet of 6 $5 coupons.
Okay.
Then it went to $35, and USDA increased it to $35. And then because of non-use, USDA decreased it back to $30.
Okay.
All right. So in 2018 or 19, we were awarded, along with CPAAA, the Area on Agents, a national award because we had increased usage 218%.
Okay, I got that. Gives me the chills.
Yes.
Kudos to you guys. That's huge.
So now, as a result of that, people ask, how do you prove that what you do is working? Well, USDA this year increased the market vouchers to $50 a booklet.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yes.
Because that helps on groceries. That the seniors, it gives them dignity. It helps in their quality of life.
Yes. And just stay there because it's so funny when I say, I got to have you on because we believe, HopeNet, we're all about mental health and wellness. And the thing is that we believe that even having access to food is a big deal, and not just any food, okay, but healthy food.
Healthy food.
Improves our mental well-being.
Yes.
How we feel about ourselves, our quality of life. And so you guys are like, who would ever think that a farmer's market would impact someone's mental health?
That's right. Because there is a new term that's being used, food is medicine, as if we didn't know that food was medicine. So we had in 2023, we were awarded a small pilot grant for Healthy Blue.
Okay.
And Keisha is our mental health therapist.
Yes.
And we had a culinary expert, a culinary coordinator, go into Shady Way in some of the senior centers. And we provided exercise, food, menus, and we taught them how to cook with their commodities.
Right. Okay.
Food as medicine. So one lady, the sponsors of that grant visited us, at Shady Way. And one of the testimonials was the lady had lost 7 pounds. So just having that social network, that face-to-face contact. And then the custodian said, I want to commend you guys because the whole atmosphere of this place has changed. Because we were going in regularly, providing snacks and food, and we were doing exercises on the Silver Sneakers videos.
Helping people to connect around.
Helping people to connect and talk in their community room. And so now they're asking, when are we going to start that back up? As soon as we get grant funding, we'll start Healthy Blue back up. But it was lots of work, but it was so impactful to see the seniors coming to their community rooms and sitting and talking. And food is a common denominator that brings everybody to the table.
And just think that what the element you guys add is healthy food.
Healthy food, that's right. So that's kind of where we've come from.
Just because out of your mouth that you don't know where that came from is, let's start a farmer's market.
That's right.
I know. And then people are saying, and it's interesting that the vouchers could only be used at a farmer's market.
At a farmer's market. So our system does, it makes rules and regulations that somebody thought, oh, this was a good idea, but they never thought about how many people don't have access to a farmer's market. So when we started the mobile market, because we are mobile,
right,
and I'd go to get all my funding and get all of the rules and regulations and my licenses and all that with USDA and those agencies, they would say, we don't know what that is. We don't do that. You're a farmer's market. Yes, we're a mobile market. Well, you're stationary. No, we're not stationary.
We take the market with
That's
us.
right.
Yeah.
So we had to walk them through some change. And now there's mobile markets all over the country. Wow. But we were one of the first. And I think we are the only mobile market. We're the only mobile market in Kansas.
Okay.
And we're the only mobile market in the country that does it the way we do it.
Okay.
So we're kind of unique.
And, I have the chills, so at least I'm not crying yet.
Okay.
But it just keeps taking me back to your mom and dad.
Yes.
Like what they were doing long ago set you up for
yes.
here now. And not just your family, but you remember what your mom, you said my mom is a community advocate, is that she way back then had no clue how she would be touching the community through all of you.
That's right. And she used to ask them, what are you going to do when you don't have a grocery store? She used to ask that question way back. And we used to say, Mama's just out doing, she's doing her thing.
She's doing her.
That's right.
Okay.
But now their legacy, we're living out their legacy. And we're seeing those things come to pass, that we don't have grocery stores. And she used to say, you've got to learn to can your food. You've got to learn to sew. You've got to learn to take care of yourself. All of that. So now we're coming full circle. And with everything that's going on in our world and with COVID, it showed us that our systems are very fragile.
Wow.
And we've got to have our farmers. And if the audience doesn't get anything but these two things, that food has to be a policy issue, not a profit issue. And farmers have to begin to grow for their communities. Because when we can't get the bananas and avocados and all of this shipped in, we've got food that feeds our communities through our farmers. So that's our goal.
So when you're I was going to say ministering to the seniors.
It is ministry.
When you're listening to the seniors through, Food is Medicine, do they have any clue of all the other things that go into getting this healthy, like vegetables and fruit to them? Are they saying, I'm just enjoying all of this?
Well, we just want them to enjoy it.
Okay.
Because they've given their lives and worked all these years to support our nation and our economy. And sometimes they ask, and sometimes, but a lot of them, you'd be surprised, grew up as farmers. Their families grew up in farming.
Okay.
And they tell us stories. We used to do this and we used to do that. And sometimes we normally set up at a site 30, 45 minutes, but we're usually there a little longer because they're talking to us about their stories.
Their stories.
Yeah, and we've been at some of the sites, we've been there for all the 10 years that we've been doing what we're doing. So they're family now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that even back then they were farmers, because I married a guy from Pratt, Kansas, and my father-in-law, and I call him Dad Bright, he always they lived in town, but they had land outside of town, and they always just called it the poor farm. And so it almost like, because it was probably his hobby or something, but my husband would talk about how many tomato plants they would plant, watermelon, all of that, and then they would set up a stand
That's right.
in the summer and sell it. And it just didn't hit me till you just said that just now, but for him, that was just an upbringing. There were 4 boys, and so that's probably his dad passing on to them to know how to do this. Because I asked him one time, I said, Galen, do you know how to be poor? He said, yeah, I know how to do that. I said, so just in case that comes, he said, we know how to can food, we know how to grow a garden and all that kind of stuff. I said, okay, then you got that covered.
Okay, yeah. That's right.
But what you're saying, what happens when there's no grocery stores? And that's just hard to even imagine. That something like that.
Well, if we look at COVID and how the shelves were empty and the disruption of the food supply chain, because in Kansas, most of our fresh produce is imported. So we've got to flip that. And there's resistance to that because, there's a lot of monopolies in the food industry now. Yeah. And so our goal is the communities that we serve is to get the farmers collectively in that community to start growing and to start feeding their community. It's going to impact the economy. It's going to make the farm stronger, the farmer better. It's just going to do great things.
And just think about our community. Like that's right. What it would, to be well.
That's right, to be well. Right. Now, we understand that when we want people to be well, that we're infringing on some other things.
Okay.
Because our nation, people not being healthy has been a core issue. So we want to, we know we're in uncharted territory.
This
right.
I don't know. I didn't even plan to say this, but you maybe can speak to this for me and say, this is what that is, Joel, and maybe it's that food is medicine. I just remember waking up like within the last couple of weeks, and I just told my husband, I could just eat some beets. And I don't even know why I said that, because my favorite vegetable is cauliflower. And I said, I feel like I just want some beets. Like, even if you just went and got me a can somewhere right now, I would open it up and eat it out of the can. I had no clue where that was coming from. And I almost wonder sometimes are our bodies just craving, longing for what it's not getting.
It'll tell you. Your body will tell you what you need.
Isn't it funny that it was crying for beets?
That's right. So beets are high in antioxidants and all kinds of good blood flow and all kinds of things for your body. So the fact that you wanted some beets, you should have gotten some beets and put them in a salad and eaten some beets.
I can just eat them, like, especially when he just boils them top of the stove, whatever. I said, please cut that up really quick, and I put some salt and pepper on it. I would just eat it like that.
Really?
I love beets that much.
Yes.
So okay,
healthy food.
Healthy food.
That's right.
Okay. I want to kind of like just kind of get us to go home on this, but what have you learned, from the moment that it came out of your mouth? Let's just start a farmer's market, because your brother's like, what are we going to do with this? And you had an answer that I think came from above. And then here we are years later. What has the CEO learned personally, professionally? All of that.
Oh, professionally, we were people before our time. There's a lot of tables that we sat at that we're the only people of color.
Okay.
And I've learned that the farmers of color have been decreasing significantly. And our goal is to ramp up farmers of color, to elevate them, so we can get back to growing.
Okay.
Because we know that slaves and indigenous people were the groups that fed America. And we are back, I believe, we are back to that time where we have to get together and we have to feed America, because we know how to plant food, we know how to grow food.
Okay.
I always say that it's also our time to be reimbursed and compensated for our labors, because our farmers need to be paid an equitable wage. Okay. Farmers make, on an average, 14 cents on a dollar of the fruits and vegetables and things that they grow.
Wow.
In America, that should be unacceptable. So we know we're treading on some uncharted
territory.
Yeah, uncharted territories.
And some territory that people just don't want you to be.
That's right.
To. Okay.
So professionally, I've learned that serving, there is a place for us at the table. However, we need to also be a part of the meeting before we get to the table.
Oh, can you say that again?
Yes. There's a place for us at the table. And people are saying, well, you're at the table. But also I'm learning that I need to be at the meeting before we sit at the table, because that's where all the decisions are being made.
Okay.
And we need to be in the ground level of where major decisions are being made for our well-being, the well-being of our senior citizens, the well-being of our families.
Okay.
Food is a common denominator for everything.
And
good food.
All people.
All people. Good
food may look different, but it is a common denominator.
So my oldest son told me one time that I have 7 children. Okay. And my oldest son said, when you break bread, then you're family. Ooh. So, and I'm learning that when you sit down at a table and you eat and you have conversation, you begin to get to know people, and then you start to build those strong relationships.
I told you before, I said, keep the Kleenex box close because sometimes I end up crying or something. And she said, you're going to cry today? And I said, I don't know. But this just came to me that I'm sitting across looking at one of my dear college friends' sister. Mm-hmm. And I had no clue way back then that if you would have told me, probably that was back in 1982 or so, if you would have told me, roll forward to 2022, 2023, that you would have met my family and you would be talking about our farm.
That's right.
I would have said, because I told him, you don't have a farm. Black people don't have farms. He just got on me about that. But that's the part that just makes my heart so glad, and that I get to sit at the seat with you to tell the story.
Yes.
That's impacting a community that he came from, and that your mother and father care about.
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel honored right now. So
You're getting the Kleenex.
I'm just moved by that how long ago, just like I keep coming back to those words that you said, let's just have a farmer's market. Well, you don't know where that comes from.
No.
And we don't know who we're sitting with.
That's true. And going back to that story, Bev Dunning was retiring.
Oh, wow.
And so the Wichita Eagle, I learned what above the fold in the newspaper meant. That's when we had the newspaper at the gas stations. So she was having a retirement, and Wichita Eagle was doing a story.
Yeah.
So one Saturday, I never will forget it. My phone was blowing up, and we did have cell phones then. And my phone was blowing up, and finally my sister-in-law said, "Stop at the gas station and get the newspaper." Well, it had Bev Dunning's picture.
Okay.
And her retirement. And then the first line in that story was, Donna Pearson McClish is going to start a farmer's market. And I called her and I said, how did you do this? You just threw me under the bus.
Yeah.
And my brother
I have to do it.
Right. My brother said, well, what are we going to do? I said, we're out here now. I mean, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So when I went to her retirement, I said, you really did throw me under the bus. She said, oh, I know you could do it. Wow. She said, you'll do well. But that was the relationship she had built. Who would have known? I mean, you and Denny, Bev Dunning, and my mother,
yeah.
Kansas State.
Yeah.
So we've been attached to Kansas State for years. Yeah. So who would have thought?
Somebody should drop the mic on that. That's yeah. And here we are.
That's right.
And a lot of this, just us having this conversation today, is about. I think it's because we care about people, and
Yes.
it's not just you and me. It's I work for HopeNet. Here you are at Common Ground.
That's
I mean, the Pearson Farm.
Yeah.
Okay. The legacy is that it's really about people.
It is about people.
And it's about the kingdom. I always say
right.
the kingdom is full of people.
That's right.
And so we get to be stewards.
That's right.
Of this kingdom. And we don't have to. God is not calling me to Nashville. He's called me right here.
That's right.
And so we get to steward this well.
That's right.
Okay. Is there anything that you wish that I would have asked you? Is there anything that you're saying, Jolynn, I got to tell you this one thing, or I want to tell our listeners that?
Yes. And the first thing that comes to my mind is in 2016, I was requested to do a keynote session with Kansas Farmers Union.
Okay.
Here in Wichita, Kansas. And 2016, the Kansas Farmers Union, Don Teskey is the president. He always says, you don't have to tell this, but I do. They launched us.
Wow.
Nationally. He took us to places that we never thought we'd go. We're part of the National Farmers Union. I serve on several boards.
Yeah.
I've been appointed to the State Department of Agriculture by Governor Kelly. Yeah. All of this was because someone saw ahead. And the Kansas Farmers Union has been very active in helping farmers of color. So when they launched us in 2016, when I did the keynote, I never thought that we'd be all over the place, following Don Teskey to the Capitol Hill and talking to the legislators, and he knows everybody across the country. And so it's been, I do want to give credit to
Thank you for doing
for
that.
credit to for people. We have we're working with the Practical Farmers of Iowa.
Wow.
We're working with Kansas Black Farmers Association. Collectively all over the country, where we're elevating farmers of color. And I want to know if there's any farmers of color listening. They can contact us. CommonGroundPG.com is our website.
Thank you. Can you say that one more time?
CommonGroundPG, PaulGirl.com is our website.
Okay.
Contact us so we can bring you into the fold and you can have the support that you need.
I love that.
Yeah.
Are you going to live? Are you going to live to be 110?
120.
Okay, 120.
120, or I'm going in the rapture.
Okay.
Either one.
Uh-huh.
Because there's so much work to do.
So much to do.
There's so much to do.
That's all I hear when you're saying this.
That's right.
I'm like, we know. Okay, I'll tell you this. I often fuss with the Lord, and I said, Lord, you know how old I am, and you know that, and why would you call me now? Why did you call me when I was 30 to do this big thing? And he just keeps on saying back to me, I know how old you are, and I'm still calling you.
That's right.
I'm still calling.
And age does not matter to him.
It doesn't matter to him.
Nope.
Yeah.
And so many people say, we haven't heard of the farm. We get that all the time.
Yeah.
But we were hidden and now visible. We were hidden until the time for us to be exposed.
Okay.
And now we're visible. So we do parties at the farm. We do farm tours. We are a 40-acre farm, urban farm right here in Wichita.
I get to vouch. That we went to a big event that you had out at the farm, and just blown away.
Yeah.
And so all of you listening, I mean, you have to see the farm. I mean, but we got to get y'all to be still for a while to go there. So it's mainly probably if there's any events coming up or anything like that, that we make a point to participate, so that we can witness this.
And we'll start to post those events on our website. And, and my brother David, who is a farm manager, he was working full time. Yes. Now he's at the farm Monday through Thursdays.
Wow.
So to get all of that, the activity that's coming and going out of the farm, pretty soon he'll be full time.
Wow.
So yes, we're moving right along.
Okay. So don't miss it. I always like, if it's almost like if Jolynn says it, if JLB says it, you got to do it.
Got to do
it.
Got to
go to the farm. Okay. So just say Jolynn said you got to go.
Yep. Call Pearson's Farms. Our number is 316-250-7957, and we'll make it happen. Okay. I was looking at the greens this morning, but I was out there. They don't look too bad after the frost. So yeah, there's a few greens.
Are they collard greens, mustard greens?
Mustard.
Ooh. Any kind of greens, just go with it. I'm just going with it.
You can come out and pick them yourself.
You're speaking my language.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna just, man, can we sit here all day and just go on and on? Well, no, there's too much work to do. And I'm just gonna say it again. I thank you, and I appreciate you. Thank you to even Keisha and Randy for sitting with a total stranger that night. And
wasn't that something?
Only God knew how that was going to unfold. It was so. I always love it when he does that.
Yes.
So I tell him we're bonded for life. So don't try to kick me to the curb.
That's right.
And so I thank you, Common Ground, and I want to get the whole name now. It's Common Ground Producers and Growers. Yes. Okay. And so just remember that. So when you see them blasted all over the place because they are now visible, I just pray that all goes well for you guys. And the thing is that thank you for blessing the community with your efforts. And I think it's your heart. It's the heart work that you're doing. And so we appreciate that so much.
And remember, if you're an urban farmer, contact us so we can connect, because you're a vital part of the solution to the food problem.
Yes. And for when she says that, if there's a food problem and it's getting solved, it's also solving a mental health problem.
That's right.
So it goes hand in hand. So we're just glad to call you a partner and a friend. So
thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And so once again, we want to thank Hoydale for being our presenting sponsor, and also our generous community partners that come alongside, especially for this episode. And I pray that you found something that just really piqued your interest. Plan on visiting the farm, all of that. We just thank you for tuning in, and we end this like we always do. We say God bless.
Thanks for listening to Studio 2501, conversations about mental health and wellness. Studio 2501 is hosted by JoLynn Bright. JoLynn is HopeNet's Director of Community Impact, a published author, and has been a licensed clinical therapist for over 20 years. This podcast is owned and operated by HopeNet in Wichita, Kansas. HopeNet is a faith-based nonprofit providing a wide range of mental health and wellness services, including counseling, life coaching, and trainings. For more information on HopeNet and to learn how you can help expand our mission, visit hopenetwichita.org and follow us on social media at HopeNet Wichita. Thank you.